Hey, what's going on YouTube, and welcome back to another video. Now today we're going to be working on my 1997 Honda Civic Hatchback. And if you haven't seen the previous video that I've done on this car, I'll make sure to leave a link above. But this is going to be a little bit of a different course of action for today because I'm actually getting this car ready to take to a VIN inspection. So this is going to be more of an informational video for anybody that wants to buy a car from a vehicle auction and then take it through inspection. So typically what happens with a car like this that you buy from an auction, I'm actually gonna roll down the window here real quick so I don't lock myself out. So essentially what happens when you buy a car from an auction that has been totaled out by the insurance, it's actually not legal to have on the road. So this car is a perfect example of that because I bought this and it got totaled out because it was basically a theft recovery. On the source of the damage, they put it as unknown because honestly, it was unknown to us, and this is all just assumptions being made at this point. So after you win the bid on an auction car and you bring it back to your home, you actually cannot drive it on the street no matter the condition. And that is the same story with this car. Even though it was in one piece and it was just a biohazard on the inside and I was able to clean it up and luckily the car fired right up when I got a new key for it, that doesn't mean I can just drive around and get plates for it because it needs to go through your local state patrol so that they deem the car as safe for the road. Because there's some instances where people could buy a car that's from an auction that's been in a horrible front end collision and then it was kind of cobbled back together and panels aren't fitting right, or the hood doesn't close and the doors don't open and close correctly, and then that will fail a VIN inspection. So this is kind of a unique situation for this one, but it's all going to be kind of the same protocol when it comes to you getting your car ready and prepped to go through inspection. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're obviously going to repair whatever you need to repair on the car, and you need to do it in a manner where you use parts that are coming from a reputable source. So that means that you unfortunately can't go and find a parts car on Craigslist and put those panels on this car because there's a chance, you know, the worst case scenario that came from a stolen car, and then that would put you in some really, really deep trouble with the state. And then they can even impound or take the car away from you because of the parts that you're not able to track the source of. So for example, if you're gonna replace the door on this car, right? You could go get it from a junkyard, but you have to have the VIN of the car that it came off of, and you also have to have proof that it came from that local junkyard. And then once you have that information, you have to provide that documentation in the form of a receipt so that you'll be able to prove that the parts are legit. So in this case, all I need to do with this one is I bought a key for it. So I got it from a local dealership and I just have the receipt for the key, and then everything is all good. Now your next step is you need to go to your licensing agency, and you also need to provide the proper documentation when you bring it over to a VIN inspection. So what they'll do is they'll give you what's called a trip permit. The reason that I can drive this car now is because this is the day before. So you get the choice of having 2 days when you get the transit permit. So you have the day before and then the day of the inspection. And once you get there, what they're gonna do typically is they'll see if there's any lights on the dash. In particular, they're looking for like the check engine light or the airbag light to turn on. So they'll put it in the on position of the ignition, not actually turning on the car, but they just want to make sure that all the lights are there on the cluster and it hasn't been tampered with. And then what they'll do is they'll put a sticker on the door over here, pick a spot, and they'll have the date of the inspection. And then what they'll do is they'll go to all the doors and they'll make sure they open and close correctly. But most importantly, they are going to also cross-reference the VINs that are on the body panels itself to make sure that they're correct and that the hood opens and closes and stuff like that too. And they'll also have original pictures of what the car looked like once it was taken into inventory at auction. So for example, if this fender was red and you bring the car and the fender is green and you told them, oh, well, that's how I bought it, that's not going to fly with it. That's gonna get you in some murky waters because you don't want to lie to the state patrol because that's not gonna end well for you. So they have documentation of what the car looked like before, and they'll be able to give you all that information. I'm just hoping, fingers crossed, that this is gonna go pretty smoothly And I really do hope that this information helps anybody that wants to, you know, take on some sort of auction car restoration project themselves, because it could be very tough these days to get a VIN inspection. And luckily I was able to get one, but I've had instances, especially like with my 318i that I bought a few months ago from the vehicle auctions, when I had to go get a VIN inspection, I was looking for weeks. And I don't know, the universe was on my side this time. But as you know from some of my other previous cars, it hasn't gone that way. So you win some, you lose some. All right guys, so I just made it to the VIN inspection. I think I have all my ducks in a row. I got all the proper documentation, and I'm just hoping that everything will go well. So this is what the line will look like when you come to a vehicle inspection. They don't typically allow you to have a phone or record anything in there, so I'm probably gonna have to, you know, talk to you guys after it all goes down. But I'll definitely let you guys know if everything goes well. And yeah, fingers crossed. All right, I just got done with the inspection. Everything went well, and they were super wonderful and happy to see the little Honda here. They even gave me some tips on how to install a kill switch, because they say these things come in here all the time because they get stolen so often. So now that the car is officially licensed, what I wanted to do is cap this video off by taking this thing out for a quick drive. Now I'm gonna save a lot of details for another full video that I'll do on the full driving experience of this. Let's see if I can get a better vision for us here. Oh, that feels a little better. Okay, before we set off, there are some things that you should be aware of when you get into a Honda Civic. And it's the fact that you basically get a seat, you get some levers, you get some buttons, you don't even get a tack. And the previous owner, they put a tack down here. But the thing is, to see it, the wheel has to be straight, and you have to be looking through this gap in the footwell while you're driving. And on top of that, if you have any sort of keychain, I can't see any of this anymore. So it is a very bizarre placement for this auxiliary tack. The best thing you could do, honestly, is upgrade this to an EX cluster. So this will move the temperature gauge, and it will join the fuel gauge over here, and then you get your own tack on this side. Or you can even upgrade it even more and get the SI tack. And I just think for like driving pleasure, to be able to see the RPMs go through the rev band, it is actually kind of nice to have a tack. I don't know how I feel about this, but I'm kind of getting used to it. These cars are very Spartan. Of course you can add things. It's got you know, these little slots where you could put accessory switches, maybe like fog lights, cruise control, things of that sort. But really, the whole draw of driving something this old is just the simplicity of it. So we'll fire this up real quick. Now, in typical Civic fashion, this thing is not fast by any means, but it means you could just put your foot down the majority of the time. And because the car is so incredibly light, you immediately feel that. And even though there is no power steering, you don't need it, trust me. You load it up, you give it about, what, 5 miles per hour and over, it feels like it has power steering just because of how stinking light it is. So I'll take a little right turn coming up here, and we'll see what we can do. Not gonna go too crazy or anything, but we'll drive it in a little bit of a spirited fashion. How about that? You kind of have to wait for it to rev it out. Very responsive for such an old car. I mean, it's on these terrible low budget all season tires, so it would be nice to upgrade those eventually. I was keeping my eye out for some wheels that would look really OEM plus, if you know what I mean. So something that's kind of maintain the stock look, but just spruce it up a little bit, because I do think the Steelies are weighing it down when it comes to unsprung weight. But let's see what we can do here. You can just really ring it out. It feels like you're going fast when you're actually not, which is okay. Well, that's a cool pup. Okay, this little stretch of road is pretty fun because you can downshift and then go into the turn. But I just want to be very wary that there's people around walking their dogs and stuff, so I'm not going to be super rude about it, but just drop it in second, let the back turn in. It does have an adequate amount of body roll, but what's so nice about these Hondas is just the predictability in the handling. That's why there's such a good first car for somebody, because it's pretty hard to get yourself in trouble with something like this. All it's really gonna do is just understeer when under more power. So we got a tight right turn here. We'll see how the body fares. And just like that, it understeers and it pushes forward, which is a very natural front wheel drive characteristic. But in this case, since it's so light, the back actually rotates pretty well with the double wishbone suspension. I mean, for completely stock, it's really fun, man. Drop it in the second, in the turn you go, power out, and you could do that all day long without having to break the law. Not something you really get to see nowadays with all the high horsepowered EVs are getting incredibly fast. When you stick yourself in something like this, it makes you just appreciate learning how to drive in general, because you really have to push the car to the limit to understand what you could do with it. But I'm gonna head down the road over here, and I think there's another stretch of road that might be fun for us to take this out on. I can still hear a little bit of the exhaust leak, and that's something I definitely need to pay some attention to. So some upcoming stuff that I want to make in terms of content on this is going through the engine, taking off the valve cover, looking at the cylinder head, being able to clean out some portions of the throttle body, and just really comb through and make sure everything's all good. But the thing is, it runs really good. There's a little bit of noise coming from that idler pulley that's on the AC, but I mean, you could drive it like that for the next 5-10 years. It's really not that big a deal. And it's just so fun. It's at low speeds, it's fun. It gives you that slow car fast feeling like you get in a Miata, but just in a more practical version, because you can actually use the back of the vehicle. And it's just really good fun. And it screams to the top, and then you shift. You could even bounce rev limiter on it. I mean, this is an old Honda. They're so tough. As long as you got a good timing belt on it, you go through the distributor and all the other common issues, man, these things will just go forever. This is probably the most reliable car I have right now. It's kind of funny. But steering wise, it feels so good without the power steering. I think I almost prefer it. When I first got this thing, I was kind of discouraged, and I was like, oh man, no power steering, that kind of sucks. It only sucks for like parallel parking, but outside of that, the feedback that you get in the wheel is just so raw. You know, like when I drive that Honda Fit, it has electric power steering, and going from that to this, I definitely prefer this. This feels just so good. And you kind of know your comfort zone with it. You'll develop it over time, but as it takes in that corner at ease, no problem. I mean, it's really fun. It's a spicy little thing. It doesn't have much guts, but I think on the back roads you could really tear this up. It might even be worth getting a sway bar for this thing, really. I think it would transform the dynamics of the rear, because right now I can feel the rear and it feels pretty pillowy, wallowy, soft. And I'm not saying you have to go full-blown coilovers, but you just want a little bit more chassis rigidity, if that makes any sense. But I mean, in stock form for just like everyday runabouts, this is my favorite car right now, absolutely. As soon as I got it licensed and put in my name, I am just obsessed with driving it. Even sometimes I'll just go out for a drive, and I don't usually do that because I don't have as much time as I used to, but there's just so much excitement and nostalgia for me when I get behind the wheel of this thing that I just really enjoy it. And I really hope you guys have been enjoying this series too. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Really hope you have a great day. Make sure to like and subscribe for more, and check out the links down below. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.